Have you ever looked back over your life and realized there were prayers you're incredibly thankful God never answered? At the time, they felt like disappointment, maybe even silence. But years later, you can finally see that God's no wasn't punishment, it was protection. Welcome to Unpolished But Called. I'm Katherine Schaefer. When God's answer was no, and later you were grateful. That is today's episode. We usually judge God's answers too early. Isaiah 55, verse 8 to 9. For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord. So we evaluate God's answers in the moment. But we know God sees years ahead. Because sometimes we're asking for something that would actually hurt us. We know that we want what we want because we're humans. We want the new job. We want the house, the car, the finances, the bills paid. Obviously, those are things that on this earth are important. But God sees what's better for us. He sees things that are greater or bigger plans. Like I can look back now and see doors I desperately wanted open over the last few years. But I'm grateful some of them stayed shut. I'm going to be honest. And no isn't always rejection. Like we sometimes think that when God says no, it means that he's denying us. So in Psalm 84:11, no good thing will he withhold from them that walk uprightly. Sometimes we hear no, but God is saying, not because I don't love you, but he's saying it because he does. And that's a huge difference because he cares for us, right? He's our good shepherd. He always makes sure that he provides for us. He has what we need. And because he sees what's ahead of us, I mean, we can't. He sees what's ahead of us. He's orchestrating things behind the scenes. He knows what's good for us. And that's sometimes really hard for us to see when we're praying for things to happen in our lives, especially when it's something we're asking for relief. Like when God is building character, like we will pray, Lord, remove this. But instead, he's teaching us to go through it instead. Like an example, Paul's thorn or Joseph, going through it when his brothers sold him, or David, those were all things that he put them through to build character. He didn't remove it. He could have, but he didn't. So looking backward changes everything. So, and I have prayed prayers I'm now thankful God ignored. So there was probably a year ago. Yeah, probably a year ago. I wanted an opportunity that would take me somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. So it was a job opportunity. It would have taken me closer to home. It would have been literally like 5 minutes down the road. And it checked all the boxes. I would have been able to make my own schedule. The pay was about the same as I was making now, but I wouldn't have had to commute, which would have saved me money on gas. Making my own schedule rather than the schedule I had. They spoke very highly of, I wouldn't have had an aggressive sales target. There wouldn't have been the industry I'm in now is very much into the seasonal sales. So back to school, Christmas time, they have very peak sales times. The company I would have went with, it would have been very much, um, I mean, they had certain peak times, but it wasn't as crazy as where I would have went. Um, so everything checked the boxes that I had been praying for. Um, and I prayed. So this job came along and I had the interview, and this job sort of didn't fall in my lap, but it kind of did. Um, it checked all the boxes, the wage, the closest to home. Like I said, 5 minutes from home, making my own schedule. I would have still been in management. The store was already running, and the old manager was just leaving, retiring. So the store was functioning. It had staff. Um, the staff had all been there for years. So, all those kind of things. And on the outside, it looked like a dream position. So you're probably asking, why didn't I take it? So I prayed on it very hard. I said, Lord, if this job is from you, if this is the job I prayed for, what am I missing? Why doesn't this sit right? And so I asked some more questions because, we're all about asking questions. So I asked some more questions, and I asked about benefit questions, and the benefits weren't great. And I was like, at my age now, I'm getting up there in age. Benefits are very important, retirement package. And the company I'm with has a very good retirement package. I'm not talking about a health package because obviously I didn't see this happening. The stroke and all these things. But I was looking at retirement packages. And the company I'm with has a very nice retirement package because at the time I was in great health. I didn't have any issues. I didn't have anything happening. But I was looking at retirement packages and I could, put extra in my retirement and my RSPs and all those kind of beautiful things. And that's what I was doing. I was maxing it out. And um, so I was like, "Mm." And they didn't have a great benefits package and they didn't have a great retirement package and they didn't have any of the things that I was already with. And I was like, oh, that's not good. Like I need that. I only have a few more years. I mean a few more years. Like we're looking at 20 more years. I could work 20, 25 more years. But like I want to max out my retirement. Like I'd like to be able to travel by the time I retire. So I don't want to have to worry about money by the time I retire. So I'd like to max out my retirement. So that was a big deal for me. So I was like, so I prayed on it again. And very clearly from the Lord was like, no. And I was like, but Lord, and I kind of argued with him because that's who I am. So then I did. I argued with him a little bit, but I was like, Lord, it's so close to home. Like, what if I just take it for a couple years and then I can find something else? And he was like, no. And I was like, but I'd save so much money on fuel and I could maybe just open up my own retirement package. Like I could move what I have now into an RSP. Like there's other ways I could do it, right? It doesn't have to go through my company. I could open up a different RSP and I could just use whatever money I'm saving on fuel. And he was very clear, no. And I was a little sad, but I was like, okay. So I declined the offer. And I said, I declined the job offer. And I said, okay, obey. And I was sad. Um, and that's okay. But I obeyed and I declined. And they very much tried to convince me to go back. And I spoke with my boss, and he was very well aware of what was happening. And anyways, it all worked out. I ended up staying with the company I'm with, and here we are. And then 8 months later, this happened. And the Lord knew I needed to be with the company I am because they would take care of me. Um, and I'm grateful. Because this is and it sounds cliche because they are my family, but it sounds cliche calling my work family, work people my family, but I've been with them for 5+ years. And I know it sounds cliche and I know it sounds awful, but these people call me, they message me, you know. I haven't been at work in 5 months and they still reach out. So they haven't forgotten about me, and I still absolutely have not forgotten about them. So, and that's my boss, my fellow manager who is taking care of my place and my people. They reach out, you know, um, but the Lord knows. The Lord knows, you know, and that's just it. So when when we when we I lost my train of thought now because I just I can't explain it, you know. Um, we have to just we just have to understand that maybe God's greatest mercy is what He never gave us, and that's what we have to go with, and that's what we have to, that's what we have to follow. I've wanted timings that would have been terrible. Imagine I've heard so many stories online of people that have said that. Um, have told stories of accidents that they've missed because they've detoured or they've had to gone back into their homes, or things that they've forgotten, or routines that randomly have gone out of place and they've missed accidents that they should have been in. And I've had that happen. Um, you know, that something just out of the strangest things occurred, and you realize you should have been in that intersection had everything ran smooth that morning. But divine intervention almost happens, and it's unexplainable, but God knows. And that's the mercy and the grace that we have to rely on. Um, and sometimes mercy doesn't look like receiving. It's we always assume mercy is receiving or grace is receiving something. And it's not. Sometimes mercy looks like a closed door, delays, a redirection, waiting, because we only see today, but God sees tomorrow. And and we forget, and we forget how much He sees, and that He sees everything, and He's sovereign, and He's the beginning and the end. He knows what's best for us. He knows he knows the plan He has for us. He knows where He's leading us. He is our shepherd, and when um you know He's not going to lead us astray. And I think we sometimes forget about that a little bit because we take His nose for rejection. And I know it's hard when something, and I know it's hard when there's pain involved or trauma. And I get that when there's hardship and you're praying for relief and it doesn't come, and you're praying. I know. Um, and I don't have the answer for you. I wish I did. Um, because those days are hard for me too. So, um, all I can say is that God knows what's best for us, and maybe there's a waiting, there's something being orchestrated, something bigger and better. Because I know there is. There always is. Um, you know, I know my husband right now is going through something, a waiting period, and I know it's driving him absolutely crazy. And we're praying that it sorts itself out. We're praying that God knows why there's a delay. We don't know. We're not sure what the delay is, but we're praying on it. But it doesn't make it easier. I can tell you that. My husband is going through it. He's been now dealing with it 2 months now, 8 weeks. It should have been resolved within the first month. We are now on month number 2, and it's affecting his work. So this has been a struggle on our side as well. So I know what it's like to struggle and finances and, having that faith that there's a reason why. I don't know what the reason is. Couldn't tell you. But I know there's a purpose for it. There's obviously a purpose why my husband's being delayed on this specific job site, or why this specific incident. I don't know why he's been moved to a new location. There's obviously some sort of work the Lord wants him to do in this new location. So we're just going to have faith that the Lord knows, obviously, because he knows everything. And that's what we're going to run with. So, because he knows everything, he's sovereign. So again, and if you're looking for more than podcast episodes, I also send weekly emails called Walking It Out with Catherine. You can subscribe for free through my website at catherineschafer.com using the link below. And don't forget to hit the follow or subscribe button so we can stay connected for more of these conversations. So we're going to close with some scripture, Romans 8:28. And we know that all things work together for good, not because everything feels good, but because God is good. All right, my friends, maybe you've been praying for something that hasn't happened yet. Maybe the answer has been no or not yet, and you've wondered if God stopped listening. But what if one day you'll look back and realize that unanswered prayer was actually one of his greatest acts of mercy? We don't always understand God's answers in the moment. Sometimes understanding comes years later. Thanks, friends, for sitting with me today and having a chat. We'll see you guys again next episode. Love you. God bless.